Hello, welcome to NBS Broadcasting, the land of batshit crazy. That's right, we are all nuts, apparently. It is insane, it is Looney Tunes, it is searching for the Loch Ness Monster. To look at a DNC staffer's death, he passed away suspiciously in a botched robbery where nothing was taken. This DNC staffer, he dies 2 weeks before the publication of a major DNC leak that is going to affect the outcome or could affect the outcome of an election. But it's not the DNC staffer that's behind the leak. No. It is Russia. We don't have any evidence it's Russia, but it's Russia. That's who it is. It's not this DNC staffer. Even though the publisher of these leaks offers a reward for information on the death of this staffer, sends out tweets repeatedly insinuating the leak was this staffer, and gives interviews, all but saying that it was this staffer that was behind the leak and not Russia. But never mind all that. We see, because we are all nuts. Apparently, we're all looking for the Sasquatch in the woods because just to have a moment's pause, to even just have a moment where you sit there and you scratch your noggin and you say, there was this suspicious death of this DNC staffer 2 weeks before this leak. I wonder if we shouldn't maybe investigate that. It was a botched robbery with nothing stolen. I wonder if maybe we shouldn't maybe take a deeper look into that. No. It was Russia. Russia did it in this Twilight Zone, Looney Tune motherfucking world of mainstream media bullshit. And, I just wonder, does anybody that publishes that bullshit that you see on mainstream media where they try to paint us all as conspiracy theorists, do they really think that shit works? Do they not realize people are over it? We don't trust them. We know they're full of shit. They sold us a war on lies in Iraq, saying that there was weapons of mass destruction that didn't fucking exist. Do they really think that they're going to be able to so easily manipulate us? Is that what they think? The thing is it's not like Seth Rich being the leaker is so far-fetched. We have Edward Snowden, who was an NSA insider that was the leaker. We have Manning, that was also an insider that was a leaker. It seems like a lot of these WikiLeaks publications, in fact, come from leakers as opposed to hackers. But that aside, it's not even the first time we have evidence of the Democratic Party colluding to sabotage an election. I recently watched a lecture General Wesley Clark had given. It's not really a lecture, it's more he was talking about a book that he had just published. And he casually, very nonchalantly, it wasn't even the focus of his subject, brought up the fact that he was encouraged by the Democratic Party to run for office because they didn't like Howard Dean. They wanted John Kerry, but John Kerry had been diagnosed with cancer. So they actually encouraged Wesley Clark or asked him to run because they didn't want Howard Dean. And Howard Dean at that time, if you know from back then, he had started on a grassroots campaign very similar to Bernie Sanders, had a very progressive policy. I myself was in support of Howard Dean. And Howard Dean was absolutely annihilated with the infamous Dean scream. The media played that shit 24/7. CNN, all of the left media played that shit 24/7. And absolutely, you could not turn on the television without hearing the Dean scream 500 times in an hour. It was just absolutely crazy. And the whole time while they played this Dean scream, they tried to paint Howard Dean as being this absolute nut job, just completely and totally whacked out. And he was at a pep rally. He was trying to build up momentum. They took it completely out of context of what it was and just was like, oh my God, you don't want to vote for this guy, do you? Look at him. And it was like, he's crazy. He's nuts. That's all you freaking heard. It was just, it was insane. So it was really interesting for me to get this behind the scenes perspective from Wesley Clark, who brought this up, again, very nonchalantly, very just matter-of-factly, like it's a given. It's just a given this is what happens within the Democratic Party. And it's a given for the insiders that know. It's not a given for us, the voters. We think we actually have a shot at getting the grassroots progressive we want in. But the parties, if they have to, they'll even bring in other candidates to make sure that, no, we don't want this guy. We don't want this progressive guy. No, 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 no. And I'll play that clip for you right now.
Within a week, I was Senator Ted Kennedy's favorite general. So a draft Clark movement started in the spring and early summer of 2003. And before I knew it, I was being pushed into this presidential campaign against George W. Bush. And it happened because John Kerry had prostate cancer, and he was losing control of the Democratic Party, and Howard Dean was taking it over. And you may like Howard Dean. I'm not going to get into that. I like him. He's a nice man, but he offended some people in the Democratic Party establishment, and they didn't want him to have control of the party, so they encouraged me to run, strongly encouraged me to run. President Carter called me, and Sandy Berger called me, and Madeline called me, and Charlie Rangel called me, lots of people. And I hemmed and hawed around about it.
Okay, sorry about that shocking Dean scream there. It's just, that is what we had to go through. I can imagine General Clark's statement is true because I saw what happened in the media with Howard Dean. You could tell he wasn't liked by the Democratic Party. The reason why I showed that is to show that it is not so far-fetched to believe that corruption exists within the Democratic Party. It's not so far-fetched to believe that they would sabotage their own candidate as per the DNC leaks that revealed it, as per General Clark's statement. And it's not so far-fetched to think that somebody that worked inside the Democratic Party, like with Edward Snowden, like with Manning, like many others that have leaked information, it's not so far-fetched to believe that this young guy didn't like what he was seeing and decided to leak some information to WikiLeaks. I don't know what happened with Seth Rich, but I do know that there's more evidence for Seth Rich being the leaker based on Julian Assange and WikiLeaks' attitude towards Seth Rich, what they've shown, what they've insinuated, based on just common sense, really, than there is that Russia was behind hacking the DNC and trying to interfere with our election. No, the only culprits of interfering with our election was the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, Hillary Clinton's campaign, and the mainstream media. And because of that, the mainstream media is not going to give any credence or credibility to anything that might put the light back on them. And putting the light back on Seth Rich puts the light back on them, because then they can't sell the leaks as something that the Russians did. When they started finger pointing at the Russians, it was more than just about the Russian hack. They basically tried to sell a narrative that the Russians wrote the damn things, wrote the content. Don't even pay attention to what's in there, because it's all just Russia trying to interfere with our election. And this Russia nonsense, it kills two birds with one stone. The Democratic Party, they've been, Hillary Clinton's camp especially, was itching for a no-fly zone in Syria, which would mean war with Russia, so they don't give a shit if they piss off Vladimir Putin or insult the Russian people. They don't care. They want they want Syria. And, we're in a war-for-profit system. So, we just have to, it is not far-fetched. It is not conspiracy theory. That is such a tired phrase, conspiracy theory. We're not talking about anything that's just too crazy for words. And it has merit to be investigated, and advertisers threatening to pull away from Sean Hannity for that reason is absolutely absurd. And I say that as a left-leaning independent. Censorship is dangerous no matter who it is that's being censored. We don't want to go down that slippery slope. And I actually commend Sean Hannity for being one of the few people to actually take this on. And we are seeing in real time what the establishment does when you step outside the propaganda narrative, when you don't play ball with your peers, and you go out as a lone ranger and say, you know what, this has got some credibility to it. I'm going to look into it. We're seeing what happens. So how can we expect to get anything valid from mainstream media when we see what happens when they do try to even look at something that is worth scratching your head and saying, this doesn't really make sense. What happened with Seth Rich? You know, this DNC staffer that passed away, that was murdered in a mysterious way 2 weeks before the leak come out. What happened to him? That is not a far-fetched question. But you have advertisers threatening to pull from Sean Hannity for asking those questions. And we need to take our power back as a citizenry. We need to boycott these industries, even if you're on the left. If you're on the left, you're on the right, it doesn't matter. Censorship is censorship. And if you stand with censorship, you're losing your power to know what's going on. Period. You may not always agree with what's being said. You may not always like what's being said. But if you don't fight for somebody else to have their freedom to speak, you could lose your freedom to speak as well. And we need to keep that in mind. And we need to unite. We need to not lose our power. We need to have self-respect over respect for politicians. We need to stick up for ourselves. We need to be loyal to ourselves and represent each other as an American people, as an American citizenry that overall does not have that many differences. For the most part, the left and the right, we all want the freedom to be ourselves. We all want the freedom to express ourselves in our unique individual ways. We all want safety, stability, security for our family, our friends, our community. These are things that we all want. We want jobs. We want to be able to support ourselves, support our families. We want to be healthy. We all want these same things, and we need to work from the base of that kind of similarity where we share those things in common. And we might have different viewpoints on how to get there, but ultimately we share more in common than we really think, and we need to start from there. That gives us a starting point, and we need to take our power back and quit playing politics like it's a team sport. This isn't a team sport. But anyway, that's my 2 cents worth on it. I wanted to share this with you, and I thank you for watching. And I'm sorry for the low tech of this. I don't have a very good computer setup, and I'm not experienced. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm giving it my best, and I appreciate your patience with me. Thanks for watching.